What is it that prevents people from doing the things they already want to do in life?
The most basic answer, I'm sorry it's so simple, but it's true, it's fear. People making this complex process, this woman was telling me that I don't understand why they don't do this, why I feel this way. I said, it's called fear. Everybody's afraid we're not enough. Everybody's afraid we're not rich enough, smart enough, young enough, quick enough, fast enough. It's human nature. But the secret is to do it anyway. I know that sounds so simplistic. My work when I'm working with somebody is showing them how to condition themselves, like building a muscle, so that you take action first, automatically. Because if you don't do that, it's hard. You lose momentum. It's like, how do I get started? Where do I go? Do anything to start the process of moving forward rather than let fear stop you. All of you have targets, things that you're after. If you're gonna get a new result, if you're gonna grow your business, if you're gonna be able to support your mom, if you're gonna get rid of the anxiety, if you're gonna be able to overachieve and not have all that fear inside of you, you obviously need to get a new result. You're gonna have to get new action. You don't get new results with old actions doing the same thing. Exactly. What human beings can do is amazing. What they will do is usually disappointing. It's not because we're not capable of it, it's because we don't have new actions because we get in certain emotional states that dominate us, like anxiety, like fear of failure, right? Like the fear of the loss of your mother as an example. So if you're in a state of fear, you're gonna behave very differently and get very different results than if you were in a place of being courageous or bold or warm or connected or playful, any of those. So the most important key to changing your life in any situation is to change results, you gotta change behavior, but to change behavior, you gotta change the emotional state you're in. How do you do that when you don't feel like it or it feels overwhelming? There are two ways, and I've done this with the greatest athletes in the world. I've done this with 4 different presidents of the United States. I've done it with billionaire clients. All you have to do to change your state is not try to think your way there, like I'm happy, and do a bunch of affirmations. Your brain's gonna go BS, you are not happy, right? What you need to do is make a radical change in the way you use what we call your physiology. It's a big word, it just means the way you use your physical body. I've taught this for 40 years, and about 3 years ago, Harvard finally did a study where they proved what I did worked, and they called it these power positions. And what they showed was if you stand, everyone can try this, stand up just for a moment if you want, everybody at home can try it as well. So do something really silly. Put both your hands on your hips like Wonder Woman or Superman or that stuff, right? If you stand like this and you breathe deep for just 2 minutes, what the science found was that you will absolutely increase your testosterone by 20%, man or woman. You'll drop your cortisol, which as you know is the stress hormone, by 22%, and you're 33% more likely to take action if you wouldn't have before because fear would have stopped you. Now, I don't have people just stand like this. I have people move, use their voice, make radical changes in their body. You'll feel it after 2 minutes. Or, somebody who's, puts their arms back like this and their feet up, that'll produce the same state. It produces more certainty in you, and that certainty gets you to take different actions. So if you are in a situation, you think of the worst scenario, your mom dying, no, my business goes under, I never achieve at the level I need to, all the things I have anxiety about, the minute you focus on them, you go into those states of fear, and then you behave fearful, and you get lousy results. And when you get lousy results, what does it do to your brain? You go, see, I told you I couldn't do this. It becomes this negative loop.
So 2024, when I was going through one of my hardest times, health-wise, mental health-wise, physical health-wise, spiritual health-wise, I reached a conclusion. It was something that Alan Watts said. He said, when you close your eyes for the final time, when your friends close their eyes for the final time, it's like you never ever have been, you've never ever existed. And a lot of time people are looking for purpose and looking for passion, looking for things that they're looking to do, things that they want to be. They get so overwhelmed, they get so overworked, they get so frustrated, so wound up, so ill, so sick, trying to pursue a dream and a goal that really is ultimately meaningless. And when you understand that everything is ultimately meaningless and nothing has meaning except the meaning which we give it, you understand that there is so much freedom that's there, but you also understand that you can have fun doing whatever it is that you want to do. You get one go around at this life. You are here for a reason, a time and a season. I don't know how long it's going to be. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 5 years, it might be 50 years, it might be 100 years. But the question is, what are you going to do with the time that you're here? Now again, I come from a place where again I was a theological teacher, I was a theological student, and I'm now saying that everything is ultimately meaningless except for the fact that we are here for a time and a season right here. It gets very, very confusing when you start understanding this theology stuff. But the amazing thing about it is there are so many people out there that are struggling, that are suffering, that are in poverty, that literally feel like they can't get out, they can't pay the bills, they can't do anything to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And I work with them and I say, look, what is it that you actually want to do? And then there's just silence. And they go, oh, what do you mean, what do I want to do? What can I do? It's like, what are you passionate about? That is where I coined the phrase, study that which you desire to become. When you study that which you desire to become, you have an opportunity to free yourself from those negative loops. You have an opportunity to focus on what it is that you want to do. You want to be a psychologist, right? What steps do you need to do to get you from where you are to where you want to be as a psychologist? If you want to be an author, if you want to be an artist, if you want to be a musician, what do you need to do to get you from where you are to where you want to be? And when you start exploring where it is that from where you are to where you want to be, you build momentum, you get excited, you get passionate, you get fulfilled. And then the more and more you do this, and you do this on tick lists or a to-do list or a piece of paper, whatever it might be, but the more ticks that you have at the end of the day, the more momentum that you build, you get to a point in your life where you're like, wow, this is super damn exciting.
So how do we break out of it? We change our focus by asking better questions. Answer this question in your mind. What is it in your life that you're proud of? If there's something you could feel really proud of right now by focusing on it, your children, yourself, something you accomplished, you did, how many can think of something you could feel proud of? And I don't mean fake pride, ego pride, like where you're making things up. I mean, well, you really did something you're proud of. Good. Right now, close your eyes and focus on how it feels when you're really proud. Focus on that moment you're proud of. How do you breathe when you feel really proud? And if you're a little kid, what happens to your face when you're really proud? You don't hide it, right? There's that big smile on your face. Think of something that you could be really grateful for or excited. Pick either one. Something you could be grateful for, a person, a moment, or something if you wanted to that you could be excited about. Let's use excited for a moment. How many could think of something in your life that if you focused on it, you could feel excited? All right? Close your eyes. And just for a moment, all we're doing is changing your focus. Focus on what could excite you. Feel like it's really happening. Your mom's healing, you break through in the business, you're achieving the level you want. Anxiety is rid from my life. I'm on charge, I'm on top of it. How do you breathe when you feel really excited?
Yeah.
So if we change the state you're in, just by changing our focus or the way we use our bodies, it's gotta be a radical change, right? Here's my question for all of you. If you focus on what you want, life has probabilities, there's no guarantees, but you increase them when you change your state. And that's really what this is all about. Learning to change your body and learning to change your focus.
The moment that you realize you're a divine being having a temporary human experience is the moment that you will realize that there is something more phenomenal about you than you ever thought possible. A lot of people want to do amazing things. They want to do great things. They want to leave a legacy. They want to build a lifestyle. They want to build a life for themselves. They want to get out of poverty. They want to help other people. They want to do whatever it is, fill in the blank. But there is a problem here that has been fostered in our society, left, right, and center. And what it is that you can't do what you want to do because you don't have the resources, the finances, the mindset, the body, the whatever else. But you don't realize that everything that now is once came from a thought. It once came from nothing. How do you get big biceps and big muscles? Well, I can talk about that. You spend 20 years in the gym. It won't take you 20 years to get to that, but you start by doing something. How do you become a well-renowned psychologist, a well-renowned author, a well-renowned artist? You start from point A and you get to point B, and then you get to point C, and you get to point D. Most people will overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. And what you need to be is a decade-long thinker, that when you sit there first thing in the morning, you say, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to study this time period. I'm going to do what I need to do to stand out and be different from every other person that's been there, that is writing about the same thing over and over again. I'm going to make my manuscript stand out. How am I going to do that? Well, you start by saying, I'm not going to get it done in a year. I'm not going to get it necessarily done in 2 years. I'm going to give myself 10 years to do this to make sure that it's pretty damn awesome.
If somebody is really stressed out, they're not stressed out for no reason. It's because they're focusing on something that makes them feel stressed. They often, when they're focusing on it, it changes the body. You start to feel tight, you start to feel a certain way. And then they use language like, I don't know what to do, why am I so overwhelmed? So if we change what we focus on, if we change the way we use our body, if we change our language patterns, we'll instantly feel different. Think of how do people use their body when they're worried versus when they're excited. Yeah. If you learn to use your body first, use your focus first, you can literally change how you feel in moments, and then you develop new habits where you start to feel good all the time, and it isn't some phony fake pump up. It's literally the way you've conditioned your body. Just like being fit as an athlete, you want to be emotionally fit. When you're not sure what you're going to do, you're going to hesitate, and hesitation kills momentum. And momentum is what makes a sports team win. It's what makes an athlete, a business person win. When you get momentum, it's like takes enormous energy to get a rocket out of our gravitational pull of the Earth. But out of the solar system's easy. Once it has momentum, it takes less fuel, less energy. Starting a relationship, starting a business, changing your body, it takes so much in the beginning. But once you get going, it's actually really easy. We all have a need for certainty. We have a need to know that we can avoid pain, that we can be comfortable. Some people do that when they're stressed by smoking. Some people work out hard to deal with it. Some people eat to try to get that comfort back. If you were certain every moment of your life, you knew what people are going to do, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, you'd be bored out of your mind. So we also need uncertainty. If you have too much uncertainty, you freak out. If you have too little, you feel bored out of your mind. And you can get uncertainty or variety by a great conversation, by making love, by taking on a new job or a new career, a new opportunity. You get a million ways. The question is, do you meet your needs in ways that are positive or negative? Because sugar will make you feel good in the moment, but you feel good long term. Smoking a cigarette will make you comfortable and certain.
Well, what is the secret of success? Well, first of all, you've got to decide to be successful and what that looks like for you. The second thing is, you need to get a clear picture in your mind as to what it is that you want to do. When the Out Through the Ages novels came to me, originally they started their form in this world as an art history docudrama. I was going to film these paintings, I was going to film a little bit of documentary, I was going to tell stories, package it together, and sell it as courses. Lockdown happened in 2020, 2021. And literally, I go through a spiritual transformation January 2021, and by May, I felt so strongly that I was to write these things down as novels. Now, I'd never written a novel a day in my life. I'd written The Battles We All Face book, which is available on Amazon if you are interested, but I'd never written a novel before. A novel is very, very different from a self-help book. So what did I do? Rather than getting so afraid, so terrified, so, oh my goodness, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, what did I do? I said, right, study that which you desire to become. That was one of the first lessons that I learned. God will take you to the well, but it's up to you to drink. God may show you the entire plan for your life, but it's up to you to do the work. That was the second lesson that I learned. So I sat under some of the most phenomenal British, American, English-speaking narrators and authors and actors and screenwriters and filmmakers on the planet. And I did that for 2 years. And I studied them. Neil Gaiman, Joyce Carol Oates, Margaret Atwood, R.L. Stein. The list goes on and on and on and on. I studied the teachings of Richard Branson. Because I got into learning, I got into studying, I got hungry with what I was doing. I was not going to just write another so-so book for a so-so audience. The goal was to outsell J.K. Rowling. And as I'm sitting here literally 6 months away from going to publication and going to press and getting an agent and all that amazing stuff that comes along with that, I'm looking back and saying, gosh, look at what we've been able to do in the last 2 or 3 years. Celebrate the victories while you're going along on the journey. Many people go along the journey, they get to the end and they say, is this all it is? Is this all there is? But the amazing thing is, when you literally celebrate the journey and you celebrate all that you're doing, you get to a point where you're celebrating again and again and again, and you build more momentum, and you build more momentum, and you build these things into your life, and it becomes a phenomenal thing. And I look now and I'm just like, okay, what started out as one book has actually morphed into 3 in one series and 5 other books in a different series. And it's phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. But you've got to get clear in your mind as to what it is that you want to do, and then day by day by day by day, doing it every single day, even when sometimes it makes absolutely no sense to do so. You've got to get out the mindset of this instant gratification Every day you get up and you do a page. That should be instant gratification. Every day you get up and you do a page. You're making strides towards what it is that you want to do. Celebrate that. Celebrate that. Don't let the world tell you that you can't do it, because guess what? Everybody who's become a genius all started from the same place. Yes, they may have unfair advantages. They may have even worse situations than what you have. But they started from a specific place, and they didn't go out for glory and for honor and for all the majesty and pomp and ceremony and circumstances that has literally infested and infiltrated our world now. They went out to try and solve a problem that was in humanity. They went out to try and build something that was bigger than them. They went out recognizing, hey, I've made my money now. Rather than just sitting back and doing nothing, I can actually touch the world in a phenomenal way.
You see this in great actors or great entertainers. They'll come to me, and in the beginning, they work so hard to be significant, to be unique, to be special, to be important. What they really wanted was love. But now people stop on the street, and they'll say to me, they don't even know who I am. They just want my time. They just want this. They want a picture. They don't respect my family. They don't respect it. You'll hear them so upset. What they wanted was the love. We can have both. But the more significant I am, the more unique I am, the more separate I am from you. The more connected I am, then some people go, yeah, but where am I? Where am I special? So finding that balance between the two is what makes people feel alive. And we can meet all these needs in positive ways or negative ways. You can get significance by tearing other people down. Oh, they're lucky, they don't care, they took advantage of somebody. You don't know anything about them. You see people dealt with famous people all the time. Why are they tearing them down? Because if I don't feel good about myself, if I can make you smaller, I look like I'm moving up. But you're not, and it doesn't work. But if you do things where you significantly love someone, if you care for someone, you're the most significant person in life. If you try to prove you're significant, then you have kind of the Trump effect. Even people that like him will say, you know, sometimes he can push people aside because he's telling everybody how special he is. That gets in the way of relationship. If we're gonna connect, we gotta not make ourselves significant. We gotta find out what's significant in the other person and honor it. First four needs are the needs of the personality. We all find a way to be certain, even if we have to lie to ourselves or just work hard. We all find variety. We all find significance, even if it's tearing other people down. We all find at least connection, if not love. But the spiritual needs are to grow. When people say, what does it take to be happy? I say one word, progress. If you're not there yet, but you are starting to make some progress in your body, or progress on your relationship, or progress on your career, your finances, you're gonna feel good. And when you achieve it, how long do you feel good for? Not very long, because when you achieve it, you stop growing, you kind of celebrate, nothing wrong with that. But how long after you get that thing you wanted are you happy? A week, a month, a year? Almost never a year. It's a short time, and the reason is we're not supposed to just sit there at the table of success and celebrate for years. We need to grow to feel alive, and everything in the universe grows or it dies. But when we grow, we have something to give. And when we give, people often say human beings are selfish. I've been selfish, I'm sure you've been at times, but that's not my core and it's not anybody's, and I'll prove it to you. When you're having, all of you at home and all of you here, when you have something great in your life that happens, you learn something, you experience something beautiful, what's the first thing you want to do?
Tell people.
Share somebody you love. Why? Because when you share with it, it expands. See, pleasure is something coming in from the outside. Happiness is something inside you that you share. And happiness is what people really want. Pleasure, you can get pleasure from alcohol or anything, but some people, it's all about me. When you're taking what's inside yourself because you've grown and you're giving to someone you love, your children, a friend, a girlfriend, boyfriend, a coworker, anybody, there's an aliveness you can't feel by yourself. There's only so much pleasure you can feel. Happiness and joy comes when that expansion is shared.
The moment you realize every single thing comes from inside you in one form or another is the moment that you become very, very careful about your thoughts, about your words, about your ideas. Every single thing that we touch, taste, smell, hear, see has come from a thought. Look around you, there is nothing that you can touch, taste, hear, smell, whatever, that hasn't come from a thought. The buildings we live in, the cars that we drive, the computers we work on, the clothes that we wear, the skin that surrounds our bodies to protect us. Every single thing came from a thought. Every single thing. That is why we always talk about the power of your thoughts and being like a garden. What you put into it, you are going to get out. Change your world, change your thoughts, change your world. When you start seeing good in the world, good will continuously show up. You start seeing poverty and misery in the world, guess what's going to show up? And you see anger and frustration and bitterness and stupidity in the world. And I have been there. saying these things, where I have been furiously livid with the same persons that I now eternally love. And I don't say that as some great, joyous, amazing feeling, wondrous dance for a little, prep party. I say it because it's the truth. I ain't no saint, I'm one hell of a sinner, but I love Jesus. The Bible talks about it all the time, wisdom is crying out for us every single day. And the majority of us are turning our back and saying, no, we don't need you, God. No, we don't need you, God. Look at the state of our schools. Look at the state of our world. Here in the UK, it's literally every single thing is falling apart. From the economy, to the train system, the transportation, to our road sweepers, our bin men, to our teachers, our schools, our industry. All because we've turned our back on wisdom. All because we've turned away and said, no, God, we don't want you. Let's go God out of the situation. Let's get God out of the schools. Let's get religion and faith and everything else and morals and ethics and everything else. Let's bring in the word of man. Let's bring in this, that, and the other. You know, the thing about that is you get God out of the schools. What do you invite in? The devil through the window. And more people are doing that in their lives every single day. Now, I don't care whether you believe or whether you don't. It doesn't make a bit of difference to me. When people tell me, well, I don't believe in the Bible, I said, well, what do you believe in? I don't believe the words are true. And yet, when you get to the point, I always say, well, go read Proverbs then. And then come back to me and say that you don't read the Bible. Read Proverbs 7, read Proverbs 8, read Proverbs 2. Go through the Psalms, go through books of wisdom, if nothing else. Even if you don't believe the books of Jesus, despite the fact that Jesus' life and death and resurrection was literally historically documented by believers and non-believers. Why has Jesus lasted the tail of time and everything else? Because at the end of the day, his message is a message of hope. His message is a message of life. He is the only one that's done it, aside from the Buddha, aside from a few others. The rest have all disappeared into history. That's what happens. You're born, you die, you live, you do whatever you're going to do, and then you disappeared. Jesus is the only one that has actually been there. So the next time you tell me, oh, well, I don't believe in the Bible, what don't you believe in? Some people are so stupid that they don't even know what they believe in. And they only believe what they believe because somebody else has conditioned them to believe those things. How about for once you think for yourself? How about for once you look for something that's greater than yourself? Because here's the thing, my friend, as you're listening to this, with all the anger, with all the frustration, with all the bitterness and envy and misery that goes on in your life, that is what you are going to see every single day. Literally, wisdom is calling out to the streets right now. It's calling out right over these airwaves, right into your ears. And you have the opportunity to turn around and say, you know what, I want to do something bigger and better than myself, rather than looking at the shithole that's around the world and saying, you know what, well, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Might be. But how about you do something to at least prolong, give some good, do some good, rather than contributing to it. Now, I don't disagree that there is a lot of horrible things that go on in our world. I know them firsthand, I've seen them secondhand, I've seen them thirdhand. I know them for a fact. As long as human beings are on the planet, the world will never ever be as it should be. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. The Bible literally can save you from making horrific mistakes. And what is the worst thing that's going to happen? Is that you get a little bit more ethical, you get a little bit more moral, you get a little bit wiser, you learn how to build a business, you learn how to donate to people, you learn how to take care of other people after you've taken care of yourself. You learn how to touch the life of another. You learn how to make a difference in this world, not just for yourself, but for other people. It amazes me as much as you to say these things, and yet I know there is more going on in heaven and earth than there is just in this little recording studio in the west of Scotland.
Well, if you want a breakthrough, not just a little change, you can change laterally. You can go from being pissed off to frustrated.
Right.
Doesn't help you much, right? But if you really want to change, most people are trying to change. Say you want to lose weight, and they want to make money. They go, how do I do it? They look for the strategy. But I'd like you to think of 3 S's. Strategy is where most people go first, like, how do I do it? But how hard is it really truly to be fit and have energy? It's not that complex. It's not like reserved for the 1% or expensive to learn. You have to interrupt, you have to hide from the answers to those things. The real problem is the second S, story. They have a story that says it's a set of beliefs they tell themselves over and again. I've tried everything. Or if they're single, all the good ones are gone. Whatever the story is. And if you tell yourself a story over and over again, so we convince ourselves. You always come up with a lousy story when you're in a lousy state. And so the number one thing I show people to do is how to change their emotional state. When you're feeling tired or frustrated, when you learn how to change your body so that you really feel excited and isn't fake, when you learn how to change your biochemistry, which is what I teach people to do, when you're upset with someone, do you ever notice how you can now remember everything that they've ever done that ever upset you, right? Yes. But when you're in love, what's wrong with life? What's wrong with anything? When you're in love, we have no money. Who cares? We're in love, right? So your emotional state controls the story you have about your life, and then your story determines whether you find a strategy, or even if you know the strategy, whether you really do it or not. When people say I tried, what they're really telling me is I have a story that says I should try this, but it's really not going to work. So I give it a half-reared attempt and it didn't work, and now I can tell people I tried. What you really got to do is learn to change your emotion, your state, change your story, and then you can find the strategy, or you can make the strategy to work. I constantly believe you got to feed your mind and challenge your body, because the mind-body works together. You know, what stops people, as we said, is fear. Well, fear is physical. You feel it in your throat, your gut. But if you do something really physically strong on a regular basis, you develop a new emotional habit. And that emotional habit will get you to follow through and do things differently that people won't do. It's really not that complex. There are a few habits in your life that truly could change your whole life. I start every single day with this process called priming, training my brain to be in a peak state. So what I do every day is I prime myself for what I want rather than letting the environment control me. We've all had times when you snapped at somebody and you felt bad because it wasn't them, it was the state you're in, right? Well, there's no excuse for that. If you prime yourself, you set yourself up. But the way I did it is I do this process, and it's 10 minutes, I put some music on, I do this massive change in my breathing so it radically changes the way I feel. And then I do this 3-step process. First, I do 3 minutes of gratitude where I think of 3 things I'm really grateful for, and I associate, I don't think of it over there, I feel it. And the reason is, when you're grateful, you can't be worried. You can't be fearful. When you're grateful, you can't be angry. And anger and fear are what screw people up most in their relationships, in their life, in their business. So I wire myself. I was saying to you that most people want to be happy, but their habit is to be worried or pissed off or frustrated or stressed. And so they've got a highway to stress and they got a dirt road to happiness. So I wire myself. I've got a highway to gratitude, which changes all your emotions. And then I do a 3-minute process of kind of a prayer for my family and friends. And then I do a 3-minute process of the top 3 things I want to accomplish. I see it as done and I feel it. I'm done in 10 minutes. So sometimes I go 20, but my deal is 10, so there's no excuse not to do it.